This is CBC Vancouver News.
Decriminalization of drugs clearly is not working.
Tonight on CBC Vancouver News, more pushback against drug decriminalization in BC. Several city councillors asked the Premier to change course. Also,
the Surrey Police Service will become the police of jurisdiction for the City of Surrey on November 29th, 2024.
the date has been set and Surrey Police will take charge in the fall. As for the other details, much remains unclear. Also,
here's Miller, Hughes, across Pedersen, hit the side of the net.
how the Canucks fared in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs at home against the Nashville Predators. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zahra Premji. We begin with a developing story out of White Rock. White Rock RCMP has just confirmed moments ago that a man has been has been fatally injured at the White Rock Pier. We hear a serious incident is unfolding near the 154 block around the White Rock Promenade. That's according to White Rock RCMP. One man is dead. They've confirmed an IHIT, which is the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team, is on the way to take over. At this time, we have very few details, but we will have more on our website, cbc.ca/BC, as the story develops. Now, this is the second incident to happen on the White Rock Pier in the last 5 days. The wife of a man stabbed near the White Rock Pier over the weekend says she is now afraid to live there. The couple recently arrived in Canada, but as Zahra Premji reports, they're rethinking their future. And a note, CBC News has agreed to not show their faces in order to protect their safety.
Maybe he just punch on his neck. We are just thought that he just punch on his neck.
Manpreet Kaur describes the moment her husband Jatinder was attacked at White Rock Pier. It was here on Sunday evening that Manpreet says she was sitting with her husband facing the ocean when they were attacked from behind, completely unprovoked. The couple says their initial reaction was to confront the man.
He was constant, standing on his place with the blank expressions.
But when they saw the knife in the attacker's hand, they decided to run in fear for their safety. It was not until moments later that the couple realized that Jatinder had already been stabbed in the back of his neck.
From the jacket, the blood goes through his pants, his all shoes on the ground. Then I asked him that it was not a punch, like you are just hit by a knife.
White Rock RCMP says they attended the scene on Sunday evening and are continuing to investigate the incident. The suspect is described as a black male wearing a ball cap and a grey hoodie.
These kind of random attacks are happening in all communities, and no community is immune, and neither is White Rock.
But as newcomers to Canada, the incident has left Manpreet and Jatinder shaken.
I just don't want to live here because in the public place there's not any safety to any person, or at home, nothing.
The couple says they fear for their safety and are now considering moving back to India. Zahra Premji, CBC News, White Rock.
Well, just a year in and pressure is mounting on the BC government to scrap its 3-year drug decriminalization program. Councillors from several cities are now urging the Premier to abandon the policy. The policy has supporters, but as Tanya Fletcher reports, David Eby admits they're looking at options.
Decriminalization of drugs clearly is not working.
Just a year into BC's controversial pilot project to decriminalize hard drugs, 3 city councillors from 3 different cities are pleading with the province to scrap it, calling it a failed experiment.
We shouldn't be allowing people to use drugs, and if they're caught, they should be given the option to either, do their time or seek treatment.
They say since decriminalization, there's been a rise in street disorder, crime, and drug paraphernalia out in the open. Police say their officers have struggled to manage public drug use in places like parks, beaches, and hospitals.
There are many of those locations where we have absolutely no authority to address that problematic drug use.
The Premier is acknowledging those public safety problems and hinting change may come.
How can we save more lives? How can we keep people alive longer? and how can we ensure that people feel safe in our community. That work is underway and continuing, and we're going to have more to say about that soon.
Some experts say from a harm reduction standpoint, decriminalization has been effective.
The alternative to decriminalization, if we roll back and take it away, is criminalization. And it's going back to an approach that we know has failed time and time again.
BC is not alone in trying to balance harm reduction and public safety.
He's gotten Narcan 4 milligrams in the left nostril.
Oregon was the first U.S. state to decriminalize small amounts of illicit drugs. But last month, with polls showing growing public backlash, that law was rolled back. Advocates here, however, say the province just needs more time.
It's a 3-year pilot project for a reason. And they haven't given it the full amount of time to actually look at to say if it's working or if it's not working.
This all comes with both a federal and a provincial election on the horizon as politicians parse whether public opinion might sway public policy. Tanya Fletcher, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, people in Surrey can mark end of November on their calendars. BC's public safety minister says that's when the Surrey Police Service will take charge of the city. The RCMP will move to a supporting role, but as Mira Baines reports, many details remain unclear.
BC's public safety minister and the head of Surrey Police and the BC RCMP deputy commissioner appeared together at the announcement of a target date for change of command.
The Surrey Police Service will become the police of jurisdiction for the City of Surrey on November 29th, 2024.
The province says it's a milestone and there is a pathway identified to allow Surrey RCMP to work collaboratively to support the Surrey Police Service when it's in charge of police services.
With today's announcement, our hiring will ramp up.
While there appears to be a unified front, there are lingering questions over how the two police forces will work together over the next 2 to 2.5 years until the transition is complete.
The devil's in the details.
BC RCMP Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald says what that pathway will look like is still to be determined. He says working groups will develop an operational model that respects authorities of the RCMP Commissioner and Surrey Police.
Other than that, I don't have any details for you right now because that work needs to be completed.
Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke issued a statement calling the target date aspirational. She went on to say Minister Farnworth's announcement today is simply another desperate attempt by the province to demonstrate some kind of progress on this issue mere days before the matter is heard in court. Surrey's business community is questioning whether the November date is realistic.
There's so many unanswered questions about IT, training, capital infrastructure, land agreements with the City of Surrey and the federal government. That's going to take way more than 6 months.
Coming up, the city and the province will go to court next Monday for a judicial review of the province's decision to move ahead with the police transition, which the city opposes. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
Meanwhile, Surrey City Council has now passed its 2024 budget. Property taxes are set to cost the average single-family household an extra $177. Chad Pawson breaks down the rising costs Surrey taxpayers are facing.
Here in Surrey, where residents are facing a general property tax increase of 6%, plus another 1% for a road and traffic tax. Add it all up, it's 7%. The budget passed at council last night 5-4, and depending who you ask, it's a great budget, meeting Surrey's needs, a city that's growing quickly, or it's completely too costly when you think about money on offer from the province to help with the police transition here. That process for the Surrey Police Service to take over for the RCMP, it's been 6 years so far, a period marred by political battles, competing information, and a court challenge. Surrey's Mayor Brenda Locke recently refused $100 million extra to help with the transition. Opposing councillors said that money could have greatly offset this year's property tax increase. Now it's important to note that this year's 7% increase is far below the 12.5% property tax increase from last year. That big bump was needed to pay for the police transition. Before 2023, Surrey's property tax increases were some of the most stable and predictable in the province, repeatedly under 3%. Now, despite this year's 7% increase, there are good things in this budget, notably money for new police officers, firefighters, and new bylaw officers. There's also money for significant infrastructure projects, some $311 million for a new community center in Newton, money for Cloverdale's Sport and Ice Complex, and also money for several new parks. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Surrey.
The BC Prosecution Service says no charges will be laid against 3 police officers involved in the deadly shooting of a Wet'suwet'en man. Jared Lowndes was shot and killed on Vancouver Island in 2021 while going through a drive-through. His mother, Laura Holland, says she's disappointed.
Today's recommendations are just part of the struggle, the battle for Indigenous safety from the gunfire of police everywhere. It doesn't end here.
BC's Independent Investigations Office had submitted a report to Crown recommending charges against the officers, but prosecutors determined there wasn't enough evidence to proceed with the case. Laura Holland says she will continue to look at other avenues to seek justice for her son. Well, we have an update on the search for 2 missing kayakers off Vancouver Island. American authorities say they have recovered a second body on San Juan Island. It was found this morning around 6:30. Police say while it's believed to be one of the kayakers, the coroner has not yet confirmed the identity. The first body was recovered yesterday afternoon. 36-year-old Daniel McAlpine and 26-year-old Nicholas West were reported missing on Saturday. The 2 men were kayaking from Darcy Island to Island View Beach, but police say they didn't make it to shore. Well, police say a baby has survived a scary crash in Squamish after a vehicle dragged the stroller it was in for 2 blocks. RCMP say the person pushing the stroller was hit by the vehicle while at a crosswalk on Pemberton Avenue and 2nd Avenue. The driver did not immediately stop, even though the stroller became lodged under the vehicle. Officers arrested the driver 2 blocks away. The baby was still inside, and neither it nor the person pushing the stroller suffered life-threatening injuries. No charges have been laid so far. Well, a new study has found that caribou herds are growing in BC and Alberta because of consistent wolf calls. Still, killing one species to save another remains controversial. The study says caribou populations have risen by 52% since 2020, compared with the numbers if nothing had been done. Other methods were considered, but nothing was as effective as controlling wolf numbers. BC's cull program was launched in 2015, and almost 2,000 wolves have been killed so far. The government says the program will continue through 2026. Well, the province says it is spending $25 million for a new milk production plant in the Fraser Valley.
This new processing facility will reflect a direct increase of 100 jobs right on site. But the true impact of this investment will be across Western Canada.
It says the money will go to Vitalis Nutrition to help it expand to a new 140,000 square foot facility in Abbotsford. The government says the new plant will help milk producers boost local production by 50% to 1.4 billion litres annually. It says it will also help BC meet growing demand for butter, which is shipped to Eastern Canada. Well, people in Squamish say they are worried that hundreds of workers being staffed for an LNG project will take up too much housing in the small city. But the company behind the Woodfire LNG says it has a solution. Earlier this morning, our Benit Brage spoke with reporter Chad Pawson about the developments.
It's a floating hotel, a flotel in other words. This is it here, the MV Isabel. This formerly housed refugees from the Russia-Ukraine war. Wow. The LNG project, which is wood fiber LNG in Squamish. So this is 650 workers building a liquefied natural gas facility for export. They need somewhere to live. And Squamish, of course, has a very low vacancy rate, under 1%. And so the company came up with this plan to buy this boat, $100 million, or rent it, I guess, and bring it over to Squamish and have the workers live entirely on this boat as they build this site, which is set to be finished completion 2027. So the next 3-4 years, workers will be living on this boat. Yet, as you said in your intro, it still needs approval from Squamish, and there's concern over what impact the workers are going to have in this community. First of all, with not only rentals, but also an influx of 650 people. This community is a lot. So a public hearing tonight to hear from the public about what their concerns might be over it before they go ahead and consider approving this last approval for this boat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique solution. I haven't heard too much about these flotels. What else do we know about the vessel?
Well, the vessel's actually in British Columbia. It came over in the new year. It was retrofitted in North Vancouver. Now it's harbored outside of Nanaimo, just waiting for approval. Then it would go up to where Squamish is, sort of this other site. This is the building site. This is all water here. It would be anchored right here. The workers would be brought up to it by boat. They would live on the boat. They would be able to walk on and off it to work. And everything's contained within the vessel. Their food, their recreation, there's a workout facility, there's entertainment, they get their own berth. So it's all completely contained, and also the company saying it has a low environmental footprint. So there seems to be a lot of upside around this being a solution to housing, but really tonight, this public consultation, see what does the public in Squamish think about it? Is it the right fit for the community?
Well, in other news, ad-free entertainment used to be one of the big selling points of streaming service, but as more of them add commercials, some are wondering if the glory days of advertisement-free video content are gone once more. One expert says it all depends on how customers react.
They may change things if they see that mixing in ads into paid subscriptions is losing them subscribers, then they may cut that out. So this is a really important time where you can vote with your dollars and possibly have an effect on how things go.
Well, Canucks played their second game of the series against Nashville tonight, and it was a nail-biter. We'll have your highlights coming up next. Well, it's been a big night at Rogers Arena with the Canucks taking on the Nashville Predators in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially without their all-star goalie Zahra Premji, who was out with an injury. But before we get to the game, let's take a look at what was happening before it at a viewing party in Delta.
I think it's going to be a good game.
I remember 2011 playoff run like the back of my hand. It was so special, and I really hope we can recreate it this year again.
Yeah, my wife, I took them to a couple games this year, and my daughter is like, she's super excited, and she does the national anthem and does the whole bit. She's like right into it, so it's great.
3, 2, 1. Go Canucks,
Go,
go!
go, go!
Go Canucks, go!
Well, Vancouver was off to a tough start tonight. Goalie Zahra Premji is out week to week with a knee injury, and defenseman Tyler Myers was out with the flu. They were also up against a tough opponent as the Predators tried to claw their way back into the series.
That puck is poked past Hughes. Sherwood's after it. He's got an empty net. Kiefer Sherwood scores.
That's Kiefer Sherwood scoring the empty netter to secure Nashville's 4-1 win. Canucks defenseman Nikita Zadorov was able to score one goal late in the second, but best efforts weren't enough to even the score. Former Canuck Ryan Kessler was also in the stands with his family, cheering on the boys in blue. His son Riker opened the game with the towel salute. With tonight's loss, the Canucks are tied in the best-of-7 series. Here's what coach Rick Tocchet had to say when he was asked if he's confident in the team's ability to battle back.
Very confident. You know, I mean, look at the third. We had the puck the whole time, and I mean, the guys are trying. You know, it's just you know, you just can't get frustrated after a loss.
Game 3 of this series takes place in Nashville on Friday at 4 p.m. All right, here's a live shot of Burrard Inlet facing the North Shore. Darius will have your full forecasts coming up next. A dramatic rescue was caught on dash cam after a fiery crash in Minnesota.
Get them out. It's the only thing going through my head. Everyone just stepped up and just did it. It wasn't training, it was just being in the right place at the right time.
It happened when an SUV left the highway, hit a lamppost, and burst into flames, trapping the driver inside. A group of Good Samaritans sprang into action to help save his life. They struggled to pry open the doors with the vehicle pinned along a barrier, but a highway worker who jumped in to help had a special tool to shatter the window, and they were able to pull the driver to safety with just seconds to spare. The driver suffered only minor injuries. Well, a special guest visited a U.S. Air Force base in Florida recently, but didn't receive a warm welcome. A 3-meter-long alligator walked onto the base and parked itself under the wheels of a plane. When the reptile overstayed its welcome, wildlife officials were called in to move it to a nearby river. The base sent out a note saying, quote, "Our newest toothy airman has been relocated to a more suitable environment off base." The alligator, was forced out of its home by an even larger one named Elvis. The relocated gator is said to be a little shook up, but is feeling fine.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Now let's check in on the world of weather with Darius Madavi. Darius, it's been a bit dry out there, a lot of wildfires. What are we expecting coming up?
Well, with a little bit of good news for the flowers, good news for the drought, good news for fires, good news for Zahra, because I know how much you love rain. We do have some showers and some proper rain on Thursday coming our way here on the south coast. Then if we turn to the interior, we'll see less precipitation, but still some, especially in the northeast, so a bit of good news there. In terms of temperatures, our high temperatures, above seasonal temperatures today, going to come down into tomorrow, stay down on Thursday, and then start to come up a little bit as we get into Friday. Probably not going to stay recovered through the weekend. We might see another bit of a drop on Saturday, but as we see some more unsettled conditions. But generally speaking, our big drop comes tomorrow, especially if you're further inland, a drop of 8 degrees or so. Here by the water, closer to just a 3 or 4 degree drop. Now, in terms of that precipitation, we're seeing that roll in. We're going to continue to see it tomorrow morning. It reaches us here in Vancouver, as well as the South Island and Nanaimo. We're going to continue to see that system continue to roll over by Wednesday afternoon. We've seen most of that rain roll off of Vancouver and off of the island, which means a drier, likely a bit clear afternoon, evening. So a little bit of blue sky even, which should be a bit of a nice change, a little bit of something for everybody there. Thursday, our more serious system rolls in. Not serious, we're not talking tons of rain or anything like that, but more consistent rainfall through the day Thursday, and then we dry up a little bit more into Friday. Again, just some unsettled conditions bringing a little bit more activity. If we zoom out to the rest of the province, you can see that system roll through in the south, and then a little bit of activity in the northeast, but generally speaking, fairly calm except for some showers and flurries in the southern interior. Tomorrow, showery day across the board, but a lot of this is just a very small chance of showers, and then some thunderstorm risk in the most northern parts of the province. And in terms of a 5-day forecast, we're going to see this blue sky we had today turn to more overcast conditions, and we'll see just very consistent showery forecast ahead. Zahra.
Looks like my kind of forecast. Thanks, Darius.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I'm always looking forward to rain. It's no lie. Well, that's your late news for this Tuesday. Thanks so much for spending your evening with us. Now, before you let your head hit that pillow, make sure you take one last scroll through what's making headlines. Head over to cbc.ca/BC. Check out those stories and so much more. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. And hey, that starts tomorrow morning at 5:30 if you're an early riser. If not, enjoy. Watch the rest of our programming. Good night and stay safe.